Okay, so this discussion is going to center on way in your call manager. So what we want to happen here is to be able to use E164 type number plans for our voice translation rules and our dial plans. This seems to be the best practice that Cisco is urging you to consider. So there are two things going to go on in this. One, we're going to use a gateway attached to a call manager with a SIP trunk. Secondly, we're going to normalize or convert everything to E164, both in and out. So I find the best way to do this is first to start with some call notes. I typically like to sit and write this all out beforehand. So in this deployment, we're going to have a PRI and a 2900 series gateway, and I expect to get 10 digits from the carrier, and these 10 digits will embody a 4-digit DID extension number inside the call manager. So you need to understand that typically to accommodate this, you're going to have two different dial peers, right? You're going to have the dial peer for the carrier, PRI to the gateway, and then from the gateway to the call manager. That's your second set of dial peers. So you will also, for outgoing, have a dial peer from the call manager to the PSTN. And at this point, we want to, again, globalize the numbers, which in the United States would be adding +1, right? Okay, so for inbound calls, we're going to get 10 digits. The dial peer needs to take that 10 digits, and since we want to globalize everything, what we're going to do is add +1 at the front of the 10 digits. So if I have 619-810-1000, then I want to convert that to +1, 619, etc. Okay? Dial peer for the voice, which will send the call on to the call manager. Well, in that case, what we want to do is take a translation pattern that's now going to look for the plus. We're going to dot it so we can discard the pre-dot, strip it off, and then send the 4 digits off to the telephone, the individual extension inside. Outbound, a caller is going to dial 9-1 and a phone number, and the translation pattern is going to prefix. It's going to strip off the 9-1 and put the 1 back on. It's going to match a route pattern. It's going to send it onto the route list, then onto the route group, and ultimately to the SIP trunk where the gateway will pick it up. Okay, so let's take a look at how to best to do that. So voice translation rules are applied to a dial peer with a translation profile. So what I've done here, I guess if we were to go into this guy here and do a show run, you would see all of this, but unfortunately it's going to be in a mixed, it's going to be all over the, you get your dial peers in one place and your translation patterns in another. So what I've done here, translation patterns, for example, and what I've done is to just pull these out, put them in a text pad so we can better look at them. So the first dial peer is this guy here. This dial peer says it's trunks all to PSTN, and its description is basically this is the dial peer for calls that are coming into our gateway from the PSTN. And we're going to apply a translation profile to it. That translation profile has a name, PSTN to UCM, just something that when we're scanning the config, we can pick it out easily. It's got a preference, and it's saying we know that the incoming telephone number we're going to get from the carrier is going to be 619-229-4 ... And I also have a second one here for this particular client at 619.810 dot 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 dot. So I got 4 digits here, 3 digits here. All right. So in both cases, there's a translation profile that's been applied. So let's take a look at that. The profile itself is here. That's what it looks like in your config. And basically it's saying translate calling using translation rule 1 and translate calls as it relates to the router with 2. So now let's take the translation profile that was set up here in the dial peer and go see what it does. So it says here translate called 2, and the best way is down here under the voice translation rule 2. Now this can be a little confusing if you haven't done it before. You can have voice translation rule 1, but rule 1 can also have rule 1, rule 2, etc. We're looking at voice translation rule number 2. And what it does is it says if you see anything coming at you that starts with 619 blah 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 blah, replace the 619 with +1 619. So we're meeting the goal of globalizing the incoming telephone number. At that point, we've taken our PSTN inbound phone call, we've converted it through the translation profile, translation rules, and converted it to +1. Good move. Now we're going to send it on to the call manager. So the call manager at this point, the destination pattern is what we got out of the translation rule, which is now 619 +1 619.810 dot 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 4 dot wildcard. Okay, and at that point, it's just going to send it on to the call manager at this address. Okay, so if you were to go in, by the way, if you're in here, you can actually run a test on a translation. So if we say test voice translation rule 2, and we give it the phone number, okay. What did I have? Fat fingers? Yeah, spelling counts. Translation. So what you'll see here is it does in fact test that rule. So I put in 619, and what I get back is a translated +1 619. So we know that that rule is working. Okay. Let's, if we look at rules to apply on the incoming, basically we have an incoming dial peer. Right here, that's from the call manager to the PSTN, and that is going to match with a +1, because that's what we're getting from the call manager. And it says to use voice translation UCM to PSTN. And if we look at that, all we've done here is create a translation rule 4 that basically says take anything you see coming at you with a +1 and get rid of the +1 and just send the whole number on. And you've set one of these up for each of the possibilities, +1, +0, 1, 1, etc. for international calls. So you can see that at that point, globalization has become the Cisco preferred configuration. We're not using MGCP here, guys. We're using a SIP trunk. And at this point, I no longer use MGCP. All the voice gateways in a Cisco cluster are now attached via SIP trunks. So if you, for example, here, we're now going to look at the translation patterns, you would see that we've set our translation patterns here to match the fact that we expect to see 619810. And if you click on that guy here, you'll see that down here in the transformation, we discard the pre-dot. So we're going to get rid of the plus 619810. The little slash in the front here does two things. One, you couldn't just put a plus there. The system won't let you enter that. But it also indicates that this is not a pattern that a user can dial, right? Someone can't pick up a phone and dial /plus. So in this point, we get rid of everything before the dot, which means that we're just going to get either a 1 or a 2 and 3 more digits, which will effectively be the DID extensions for that system. Your route patterns work pretty much the same. I think you need to just understand that when a number hits the call manager, it's going to look for a match. It doesn't do it in a particular order. It's going to look at the route pattern, it's going to look at the translation for a match and act accordingly. So at the end of the day, I hope you have found this informative.